Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dr. Soul Brother again with some more remedies to help cure you of your ills. I want to go into something, but I don't want to be too long. But this has been gnawing at me for a minute. Dr. Soul Brother, frankly, is questioning some people who claim to be pro black on their channels, but their outlook and rhetoric don't jibe. I'm disappointed with that. I'm also disappointed with some of you, and you know who you are, who were taking pride in or helping some of us take pride in our history and heritage here in these United States. But as of right now, as I speak, you've become derailed by some things, gone in a whole different direction. That's a problem. And that's just, you changed the trajectory, I guess you could say. So my question is, why would you do that? Why? Why would you do that? Um, for the first time in a long time, black folks in America were taking pride in our history here in these United States. This is one of the things I try to do on my channel is to remind us about how great we are. And we have a great and rich history and heritage in America that we should take pride in. But unfortunately, I've seen some of you, again, you're on the channel, your channels, and you've gone in another direction. I don't understand it. I really don't. And then you uh claim to be pro-black, but then you go off into areas that don't jive with being pro-black. I don't understand that. I want somebody to come on my channel and help me understand what that's really about. What that's really about. I just greatly troubles me and greatly disappoints me, you know. Um One of the reasons why I created my channel the way I did is because I felt it was important to go in to areas and have conversations and discuss things that, um, for the most part, have been overlooked and not really looked into. And I said, well, I want to be one of those. As I said, when I talk about having a remedy to help cure your ills, that's real. That's very real. And I've gone into it as best I could into those areas. There are a lot of things that we have. First of all, we built America. We built this place. That's number one. And like Langston Hughes said, I too am America. Okay, we're talking about the collective I. And this, what I'm about to say, is not to be rude, arrogant, disrespectful, nor is it to be chauvinistic, but it's a fact. Had it not been for Black America, America as we know it wouldn't be what it is. We have been very, very influential throughout the world, not just throughout this country to be sure, but throughout the world. Um, and I'll say this: one of the areas where some of you have been derailed is that you're going into areas. I'll just say it. Some of you, and you know who you are. If you really dig deep, would be honest, you know who you are. There was a time when you didn't take pride in your history and heritage and identity here in the United States. You didn't. You know who you are. Okay? If we would have talked to you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, even, um, you would have been saying that, well, we don't have a culture. And you would have made a comparative contrast between black Americans and black folks from the Caribbean and black folks from different parts of Mother Africa throughout the diaspora. You would have done that. Then when people started taking pride in their history, heritage, lineage, etc. here in these United States, um, you had a battery in your back. But what has happened, unfortunately, is that you have a segment of the population that has been relapsing. It's like a person who's either a victim of alcoholism and or drugs, and they get into a program to get sober, and then they tend to relapse. Well, that's what some of y'all have been doing. This is part of how um, you have uh, created a way where you put your foot in your own path, and that's a problem. And what I would really love to see happen is for people to get back on track in terms of taking pride and embracing those things that um, we should not have been ashamed of. Let's just face it. You got some of us walking around here who don't like the fact that they are Americans. Yeah, I said it. You are an American, period. American slash African American, Afro American, etc. Black American, you are an American, period. Folks don't like that. Folks often they felt guilty, which is insane, but guilty about being an American, guilty about being um, having been born and raised here. I remember some years ago hearing a guy on a radio show, and one of Malcolm X's daughters was a guest, and one of the callers was a brother called up saying, "Well, some of us don't want roots here." See, that right there is a problem, and that was 2002 when that comment was made. Okay, don't want roots here, and that's all part of that. Get rid of it. You see, we're the get rid of it clan. Get rid of it, tribe. Just get rid of it. Either that's said explicitly or it's at the very least it's implicit or both. Okay. And folks started to erect the American flag. Folks started to um, take pride in our American identity and our history and culture. My God, this had not been done like this in a long, long time. And it was heartwarming, heartwarming. But then some of y'all just couldn't help yourself. You walked around and be on your platforms and started to go into areas like what's an example? Um, you went from one extreme to the other. You started out saying um, we don't have a culture, except, and let's be clear. I know a lot of y'all want to get on the black foreigners who talk that stuff about we don't have a culture, and there's truth in that. However, they got that originally from you. See, Dr. Soul Brother was there. I remember those days. I heard that coming straight from black folks who got roots here. They were not coming from black foreigners. And when they did start coming from black foreigners, they got that from you. You and your reckless mouth. So you can't walk away from this. You cannot. We cannot walk away from this. At some point, you got to put your big girl panties on and your big boy drawers on, erect a mirror, and engage in self or personal inventory. Let's be real clear on this. Come on, fam. The first step is honesty. Doesn't it? Anybody who's been through a program, what they tell you to say? My name is so and so, and I'm an alcoholic, or my name is so and so, and uh, I'm a drug addict, etc. That's the first step to recovery is admission. And the thing that gets me is that some of y'all, again, whether you are people who have your own channels or you're people who come on other platforms, you know that prior to you embracing your American identity, which the conscious community, so called conscious community, are guilty of trying to shame and guilt us of, you were in sync with that. And believe it or not, you can almost spot the ones out the gate if you know what you're looking at. I know I do. Yeah. So it's good that folks started to, after all this time, embrace their American identity, their Afro American selves, heritage, history, etc., and not diss their um, uh, Black American history and embrace African and Caribbean culture at the expense of their Afro American uh, history, lineage, and heritage? Because here's the thing: those who call themselves Pan Africanists, those who call themselves quote unquote conscious, or those who call themselves Afrocentric, say you don't really hear Afrocentricity today, or as one brother say, Afrocentricity, you don't really hear that term today, but you certainly heard it 30 years ago. That's for sure. Um, you don't embrace all of that, the black diaspora at the expense of your black American history and culture. That's where you begin to have a problem. So, um, if you purport to be pro-black, well then, and at the same time, you're going into other areas that will derail you, then you might need to make a reassessment of pro-blackness. And I'll say this in closing, because I said I'm not going to be here long. I just wanted to get this in real quick. To you, black folks from Africa and the Caribbean, other parts of the black diaspora, um, whenever you sit by, stand by, and hear one of your um, uh, black American brothers and sisters say things like, "Well, you guys have more of a uh, African retention than we do," or "You guys have a culture and we don't," or "You guys have a country and we don't," and you stand by, sit back, and say nothing, guess what? You are part of the problem, and you are not a writer, and you are clearly a person who is not integral at all. And for people like you who do that, hey man, y'all need to back up. So I will go after my black brothers and sisters here in the United States. I will also give smoke to those black folks who are not from here who will silently or verbally sign off on this. That speaks volumes about your uh, um, the fact that you lack integrity, and it speaks volumes about your character. So don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Um, you need help if you are on the verge or if you've already started to um how do you say um get to the point where you start to backpedal, or not backpedal, but when you start to what's the word I'm searching for? I think I just said it earlier. When you start to um slip back into where you were before. Don't do that. Stay on course. Stay on course. This is important. At this juncture, at this hour, we can't afford to have folks doing that, especially with this younger generation, because unfortunately the older generations have failed. They have failed big time. Whether it's the silent generation, whether it's the baby boomers, or whether it's the Generation X. They have failed this young generation big time. And they know intuitively that something has been wrong, but didn't have the sophistication or the tools to really connect the dots. But those of us who have some integrity and know better, it's our job. We have a moral obligation, including yours truly. I have a moral obligation to try to fix this stuff. So I'm gonna end it here. Again, hit the subscribe button. Uh, please comment. Make sure your comments are respectful, not out of line, because I will fire back. I have no problem doing that. None. Relapsing is the term I'm searching for. Some of y'all, we can't afford uh, for some of y'all to be relapsing. So let me know if there are any topics that you want me to speak on. I'm open to that. Please let me know in the comment section about how I can connect with StreamYard so I can engage y'all on a live show. All these recorded shows are fine, but I would prefer doing live shows where we can engage each other. All right. So until the next time, God bless.